think when they said what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, not with public speaking though. That doesn't change. But I never expected it'll take me about 6 months to make it home from the corner of South Park and Spring Garden to the Royal Hemlocks by Bedford. I left work on Sunday, November 17th, and actually this is easier maybe. I left work at November 17th, 2013, and drove home. My family and I have a habit of whenever somebody has a long day at work or a long day out, we come back, we sit down for coffee. It's our excuse to chat, to vent, and wind down. So I called them, I told them I'm leaving work, I should be back home in about 10-15 minutes if you wanted to sit and have coffee. I had no idea that the next time I would be back home would be April 2014, about 6 months later. That evening, my parents got a call from the hospital, asking them to rush to the hospital, and they ran down, of course. They were told that I was in a car accident, and they were told that I have very slim chances of surviving. Actually, about 4% of people that have a, is this clear by the way? About 4% of people that have a spinal cord injury and an open pelvic fracture survive. And about 1% of that end up walking with assistance. I broke my neck, my back muscles, my spine, my hips, my pelvis, my chest, my shoulder, my arm, and my right ribs. I fractured my right ribs. And at first they told them I wouldn't survive. The first month or month and a half were full of challenges, full of scary days. I'd be sitting at home or in the bed, sorry, the hospital bed. Normal, nothing was wrong, and then suddenly my heart rate would go up to 240. Or the first time I was rolled by my friend in the hospital on the wheelchair, I had a lot of pain in my leg. And when I was sent to the MRI, they found out that I had a clot that made its way from my leg to my lungs. And I just had to face challenges every single day, from internal bleeding, infections, and going down from the hospital room to the operating room. In about January, I'd say, the beginning of January, things changed. All my internal issues were under control. And I started remembering that even though I had one of the scariest times of my life, I think I thought about Christmas, the Christmas that I had in the hospital, and it was one of the best Christmases. I spent it with my parents, it was a great time. The New Year's at the hospital was surprisingly the most memorable one. I spent it with the person that made me very happy then, and it was great. I hope I don't get emotional. So I had to start thinking about things, and I started thinking about words actually my father told me when I was younger. That when there's a problem, the problem is part of the issue, and then your attitude is the other part of it. It's what you can control. If you have a problem and you worry now, if it's solved later, then you would have worried for no reason. And if later it's not solved, you still have to worry, so why worry twice? So I kept trying to remember that. Yeah, thank you. So I kept trying to remind myself of that. And even though all the internal complications were under control, I had to face the fact that I wouldn't walk again. Every doctor, every nurse, every practicing student told me that I wouldn't use my legs again. And they prepared me for life on a wheelchair. But I refused to believe that. I refused to accept it. And one day my surgeon, the main surgeon that I had, I still see till this day, he came to do his routine check. And I asked him the same question that I asked every doctor before. And I was expecting the same answer, no. But I wanted to ask, just for a little bit of hope. And I asked him, do you think there's a chance that I would ever walk again? And he just said a very simple answer. He said, why not? And those two words were almost everything I needed to have determination, to have the will to want to do it. He was actually in trouble for telling me that. So but that honestly helped a lot. And the nurses kept telling me, hope for the best, expect the worst. And at days I expected that, you know what, I might not walk again. But I refused to accept the fact that in 20 years, I might look back at this day and say, I should have tried getting out of bed. If I did, maybe things would have been different. Maybe I would be walking now. Because I found that regret is actually the worst pain anybody could have. And it's the only thing we can't take back. So I lived with that hope. I lived knowing that my attitude was the best thing I had, was the only thing that I could do to control me, to control the situation. I can either sit in bed and feel sorry for myself, or I can try to fight this. And I wanted to. And a lot of days I thought that, you know what, there is a chance I will walk again. And it kept me going. So I kept working with my physiotherapist. I kept driving him crazy, actually. I kept telling him, can I please try to stand? Can I please try to walk when I was able to stand? I kept going to the Harley-Davidson dealership where I had my bike stored, just to sit on the bike, to try to move on, to try to think that things will be normal again. I left the rehab center, and the next day I was back at work. And that was against the advice of all of my doctors. They told me you have to take 3 to 4 years off just to recover, work on yourself. But I didn't want to feel sorry for myself. I didn't want to feel that something was missing. And I didn't want to feel that people looked at me differently in any way, because I wanted to be normal again. So I moved on with my life, and I tried to carry on. When I left the hospital, when I left the rehab center, I was walking. But I learned that most of my challenges came after the hospital. And actually, till this day, even though the first lesson that I learned was that I'm able to do it. I learned that with the right support, right mindset, and right attitude, you're able to overcome any challenge. Maybe not physically fix it, that could be impossible, but you can fix the situation with the attitude. It's easier saying now, but if I was in a wheelchair now, I would also have two choices. Either be very depressed and not do anything in my life, or I can find a way to make the best out of being on a wheelchair. Starting from maybe having the most comfortable wheelchair, and then working my way in. You see people doing pull-ups on wheelchairs sometimes. So it is the attitude. But I also learned that being human, we're very weak. And it's easy to forget that, easy to become weak and need help. And a lot of times, even though I had great days where I was determined to make it happen, I had days where I wanted life to end. I had days where I begged the doctors and nurses to actually kill me. Or that I wished I didn't survive from the accident. I wished I just passed away right away so I wouldn't live like this. So there were days that were extremely hard. And I learned that I needed help. Even not too long ago, actually, I still had the same thoughts. And I still wanted life to end. But I learned that I needed help. I needed support. And I learned that I need to show support and show love so that people can show it, not back to me, but to people around them. And that way, people will start opening up. The most thing I learned is that I didn't cause this to myself. It happened to me. And I have two ways, either live by myself and suffer, or try to open up. And unfortunately, it was a little bit too late to learn this because I ruined a lot of relationships. I pushed a lot of friends away. It was hard with my parents at sometimes because I expected a lot. I expected people to know what's happening to me. At work, I expected my employer to know that I have some physical challenges. And that gave me a lot of mental challenges too, actually. So I expected people to know and to help me. And I was upset when they wouldn't. And then I started learning that everybody has problems. Some problems that might be silly to me are very serious to others, and vice versa, of course. And it's easy for people to forget what's around them or not pay attention to other people's problems. So I learned that my problems aren't visible. I need to share them with people. I need to open up, and I need to bring people closer to me by opening up to them. And when I started doing that, it was full of emotions. It wasn't the most comfortable thing. It's not always easy crying in front of people. But when I opened up to the first friend, things changed from there. I was able to open up a lot more. And when I saw the support, I was truly convinced that, you know what, people want to support. People want to help. We just have to let them know that we need help. So that was my main lesson that kept me going. First, that I'm able, and that when I'm weak, why not ask for help, and why not ask for support? Now, 5 years later, I still have a lot of challenges on a daily basis. I still have a lot of challenges with keeping up socially and physically with friends, keeping up with people at work. I still have challenges just being normal again on a daily basis. And it affects me mentally as well a lot of times. But I try to convince myself that, you know what, Bassam, you have an issue, you have a problem that you're facing, don't face it by yourself. Face it with people. Let people help you. Most people will help you. And so far, nobody's told me to. I don't want to say that word, but you know what I mean. And that was my experience, actually, of going back from the Lord Nelson Hotel to home. It took me about 6 months, but it was great. And the support that I had is what helped me. The support from my parents. I didn't have a bite from the hospital food. The support from my father and his words. The staff at the QE2 were amazing. And they understood that support is what you need to help people. And that was the main lesson that I learned that really changed my life. And it's still changing it every day to the best.